about a load of crazy trailer trash, hillbilly, southern fried vampires. Um, but it's a strange one because it's these are not glamorous vampires. These creatures have been condemned to eternal damnation, and they don't really want to be vampires, but they just have this craving. But what's different about this? I got this screenplay from a guy called Henry P. Gravel many years ago, 10 or 11 years ago. And I promised him I'd make it, and I didn't have the money. And eventually, I moved on to a farm, and so I rent a farm. I've got 25 acres of land in Surrey, and it's really creepy. It's got all these trees and like horrible kind of like alleys, and and I thought this is Bogieville. And then I found a couple of amazing investors. I mean, this is a 200K movie. This is I mean, we've had some press going, oh, it's not as good as Sinners. I said, well, Sinners was 90 million. This was the catering budget on Sinners for a week. Do you know what I mean? But I just thought that the screenplay was different. One of my favorite vampire movies is Near Dark. I don't know if you've seen it, but
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. And I mean, that was in those days a low budget movie, but that was still 5 million. And we shot this on literally I think it was 250K in total in the end. But it was just a different take on the vampires. It's not Interview with the Vampire. They're not all glamorous with lovely polished Halloween teeth or Twilight. It was kind of like Deliverance meets vampires. And I just thought it was a different take. But anyway, I got the money. And then I thought, right, how do I build Atlanta, Georgia in Surrey? So I went on Facebook Marketplace, found about 20 disgusting, dilapidated trailers and caravans, went round in a van and dragged all of them personally to the farm, and then positioned them, much to the horror of my girlfriend, and proceeded to create Bogieville. But I just thought it was a different take on vampires, and I love Henry. Henry's in his late 70s now. He's written 120 feature-length screenplays, and he's never had one made. This is the first time he's had one made. So I kind of wanted to do it for him as well, So it's been 11, 12 years in development, this. But then we shot it in March 23, and then it happened quite quickly. But yeah, so different take on vampires.
Well, I was going to ask you about the location since you've mentioned it, because as you say, it's an American-based film, but it's shot in the UK. So why not make it UK-based, as in, a UK theme rather than, a lot of British actors doing Southern accents?
Henry really wanted it to be as American as possible. And it's funny because a lot of the actors are getting slagged off, but some of them actually are American. And they go, well, his American accent's rubbish. He goes, well, he is actually American. So it's a weird one. It's a bit of a hodgepodge, but it is tongue in cheek. And it would have just been too expensive to shoot it in America. And of course, Henry is American. And he said, oh, no, it's got to be American. So I said, it's going to be a challenge to create, Atlanta, Georgia is hot. It's a hot, deep South. Surrey is very wet and very cold, and
even in the summer.
Even in the summer. I mean, I think we had summer a couple of weeks ago. It lasted for 3 days, although it's not too bad today actually. But yeah, so it was definitely a challenge, and I directed most of this film in full vampire makeup. So I've got the teeth, the sclera lenses covered in veins and God knows what else. I couldn't see and I couldn't speak. And it was really, really very, very, very difficult. But I looked quite scary, so people did what they were fucking told.
No one was going to say no to you then.
No, it was it was hugely difficult to shoot. It was unbelievably hard, and everything that could go wrong went wrong. I mean, there was one day when my teeth, because they've got polymer sealant in them, so you put them in, leave them for 5 minutes, take them out, then let them go off, then they will fit perfectly. If you don't take them out within the first 5 minutes, they adhere permanently to your teeth. One night, it's 4 a.m, I've forgotten to do this because we're so busy. Come to the end of the night, I can't get the fucking things out. So, and the only way you can get them out is by putting your teeth in boiling water and melting the polymer. And the whole crew are laughing, he's going to be a vampire forever. The same night, the DOP got permanently stuck in a cherry picker 30 meters in the air. We couldn't get him down because there was something going wrong. On the last day of shooting, a storm came in, a tree fell over, took all the power out. the lead actor Arifin Putra got handcuffed to a cop car for 3 hours because the runner lost the key for the handcuffs. I mean, the crazy shit on this film that happened was just, at the end of it, and we shot 40 days back, I think 35 or 40 days back to back with 2 days off. It nearly killed me. So when
But
you get those reviews like, "Oh, this is a load of shit," it's going, "Well, yeah, but it did nearly kill me. Give me a little bit of credit." I mean, you've been an AD, you know how hard making films is. It's
yeah,
easy,
yeah.
especially a film like this with all these effects and all this makeup. It was the hardest film I've ever made. But you mentioned Our Kid. So Poppy, Jay Hughes, who plays Lily in Bogieville, is the lead girl in Our Kid. And the guy that plays the disabled guy in Our Kid, Thomas, is Daniel. He plays the sheriff in Bogieville. So totally different characters for them.
Well, I was going to mention about Poppy because she is absolutely terrific in this. Poppy J
Probably Jay
Hughes.
Hughes, yeah.
She's terrific. I mean, you said, as you mentioned, that she's from Our Kid, but how did you discover her originally for that and now for
We
this?
discovered her for Our Kid, and we auditioned her for Our Kid for a secondary role because the original character in Our Kid, it was going to be a guy called Chris. It was a boy that was the central young character. And then she came along to play his mate. And I just thought this girl is incredible. I get goosebumps thinking about it now. I was just riveted. I said, "Guys, we've got to swap this. We've got to make her," because in the true life story, it was a guy.
Yeah.
It's based on a true life story, but I said, "We've got to change this. We've got to make Poppy the lead," and we did. And she's the cheekiest, funniest character. I've never known a kid of that age, and she was 10 or 11 when we did Our Kid. I've never known a child with such confidence. And when I asked her to do Bogieville, I mean, bless her, dressed up as a vampire at 2 in the morning. We had to get all kinds of licenses. And I mean, another crazy character in the film is Tess, who plays my vampire wife. That is Serena Taylor, who is married to Roger Taylor from Queen.
From Queen, yeah.
He
Drummer with
lives in a
Queen.
£50 million mansion. I've got her covered in blood, in filthy makeup, in my basement on a dirty mattress, getting 250 quid a day, equity minimum. I mean, amazing that she did that. But yeah, so interesting cast on this. Jonathan Hansler, again, Crawford I think is incredible because he's such a tortured soul. Anyway, I'll stop waffling.
No, no, it's okay. I'm not with them. I always kind of wonder, not wonder because I'm fully aware of it with children on a set. Particularly with young children in a horror genre, shooting at night. Does that just become problematic for you, especially when it's that you've got the budget that you've got for this?
It was horrendous. We had to get, I mean, Mummy and Poppy, we don't care, we'll do anything, but you have to get those licenses, and we did, and we only were allowed to work. I mean, when she was on set at night, we were only allowed a couple of hours, so we
Yeah.
had to just like, when it was her scenes, we just had to focus on Poppy. Yeah, it was very problematic. I mean, you know what it's like. Making films is extremely hard. Of course, we had guns on set as well, and all that kind of stuff. So there was lots of challenges, and it was. I mean, I'm looking. I've just directed another. I mean, I've directed another vampire movie called Drained. I don't know if you've seen that, but that came out on Halloween, or not Halloween, on Valentine's Day. Totally different kind of vampire movie. It's about dependency and addiction. You have a look at it. It's on all the platforms now. Our leading lady in that is actually from Transylvania, which is kind of cool. She's
Oh, right.
a proper Transylvanian. But yeah, so yeah, Poppy, incredible. I'll cast her again if I can. I just love working with her. She was at the premiere. We had a premiere at the Mayfair last Thursday, and she was just the star of the show. She's just incredible.
Now, you've mentioned all the issues that you had when shooting it. You know, the runner, the runner losing the keys to the handcuffs is, quite incredible. But with everything that was going on, what was the kind of most difficult aspect of it, especially with things like effects? Because there are vampires catching light.
Well, no. So the VFX were done by a wonderful guy called Steve Askey, who created those vampires burning in post, and he's just incredible at what he can do. And some of the vampires couldn't wear the sclera lenses, so he put those in post. In fact, annoyingly, I should probably have got him to put mine in post because I literally couldn't see. And when you've got those teeth in, you can't really speak. And the budget was tiny, and we had to, sometimes we've got to get 10 or 12 vampires ready. And each vampire's an hour to an hour and a half. So Tequila, who did our makeup, bless her, she worked so hard. And some days she was on her own. I mean, if there was two vampires, two or three, she could crack it on her own. But on some days, obviously, we had to have a lot of help. And even the fingernails, it all took so long to do, and was and the makeup would come off quite quickly. And then, of course, we're creating. Trying to create the Deep South in Surrey, and it's pissing with rain, so all the makeup's coming off, and it's like it was just unbelievable. I mean, going back in time. But so I was mentioning earlier on, I had another interview about the opening scene, because our vampires know when it's a woman's time of the month, which I thought was a little bit taboo. I didn't know if it was going to upset too many people. In fact, my publicist in America said, "Why don't we make some Bogieville garlic-infused tampons and send them to the press?" I said, "That might be a bridge too far." But the funny thing was, it was actually my girlfriend's idea to the tampon thing. So it wasn't a misogynistic men's thing. It was actually a girl. And a lot of people going, "You can't do that. That's totally up." But The Exorcist is one of the most shocking movies of all time. I mean, the things, I won't even repeat what she says, and you've probably seen, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But that film was banned everywhere. It went on to do 441 million, in 1973, which, taking inflation into consideration, that would probably be one of the biggest grossing movies of all time. And that was because it was banned. It's because it had shock value. So yeah, hopefully I haven't upset too many people by that opening scene.
Now, the way that the film kind of comes to draws to a close suggests that there's room for a sequel here. Is that where we're going with this?
If my girlfriend will let me do another one on this guy, because she hated me. We destroyed the house, we destroyed the land. It took a year and a half. Took me 6 weeks to get all the trailers, and it took a year and a half to get them off, because nobody wants them. They're
Yeah, no.
disgusting trailers. So I had to go out there in my bloody boxers and cut them up with a bloody an angle grinder, and put them in skips. I mean, the stress. But yes, so I mean, no spoilers, but as we know, a few of the vampires do survive, including me. I think we will do another one, if she'll let me, because it needs to be set here, because obviously Arafin kind of becomes Crawford. I get away. Lily survives. Spoilers alert here. Jodie turns into one. So probably, but if we do it again, I'm gonna make it a bit more of a comedy, because we lent a little bit in towards the comedy on this one, which wasn't in the screenplay. It kind of happened as we went along. Funny stuff was happening, and the way that Daniel P. Lewis plays the sheriff, he kind of makes him quite comical. So I think, yeah, we might make it a bit more of a comedy. If we do another one, we've got to see if this one wipes its nose, because it's very, very hard. We've got to pay those investors back. It's a duty of care. About me as a filmmaker, a lot of people make films for free or for no money, and they don't pay anybody, and you get an IMDb credit. You try paying for your groceries with an IMDb credit. So my pledge is that I get a budget of 200 to 300K. Everybody gets paid equity minimum, or the least minimum wage, so people can live off it while they're doing it. But that makes it hard. You're getting 250 or 300,000 pounds back. That's a couple of 100,000 downloads. Because we only get like £1.50, £2 a download, if that. So it's a real challenge to make another one. So it's getting a lot of traction. It's getting slagged off by the keyboard warriors, that these people that have never made the film. Oh, what's Hollywood? They go, one guy goes, "What's Hollywood coming to?" I said, "This is not Hollywood. This is Surrey." Do you know what I mean?
Well, so you've done your job convincing them that it's Hollywood rather than Surrey you've shot
Yeah, I
them
mean,
in.
some of them, but I mean, it's having mixed reviews. It's always going to. You always get the haters out there. You get the people that have never made the film, that don't know the stress and how difficult it is. For me, I watched the film at the premiere. I hadn't seen it for 3 months, because I edited it, or well, I had assembly editor, and watching it on the big screen for the 15th time, I thought it's a little bit long. So if I had my time again, I'd probably shave 10 or 15 minutes out of it. But the problem is killing your darlings, because You go, that scene nearly killed me. Oh, but we don't need it, but it nearly killed me. You can't cut
Yeah.
that out. But with hindsight, I probably should have done. But I mean, I don't know what you thought, but but it might have been dragging for me because I've seen it so many bloody times, But that was a bit of the opinion was you could have cut 20 minutes out of it, but mostly would have come out of Jonathan Hansler's performance. But I love him so much, I just didn't have the heart to cut him out, because he was so good. Anyway,
Got to kill you. Got
yeah,
to kill your darlings, haven't you?
yeah, you have sometimes, yeah, yeah.
So then, finally, I was going to ask you. You've made a number of low budget movies, but equally you've appeared in massively budgeted movies. So you've been in a Bond film, there's the Fantastic Beasts, there's Mission Impossible. I'm just wondering, how do you find it walking onto a set of that kind of size and working on it? Did you get overawed by it?
I did. Listen, I got stopped in the Portobello Road 25 or 30 years ago, and someone said, "You look really evil. You ever thought of being in movies?" And I went, "Yeah, whatever." Anyway, the next day I find myself on the set of The Mummy, shaved from head to foot, including my eyebrows, my legs, and my pubes, painted gold, wearing a nappy on the set of The Mummy. And then I got a little gig on, The World Is Not Enough, and Pierce Brosnan very kindly opened a submarine door with my head. And I got to hold Denise Richards round the waist for 11 days. She never said hello to me once. Um, but I met an amazing DOP, God rest his soul, he's dead now, a guy called Adrian Biddle. And I became friends with him, and I became friends with a very famous stunt director called Vic Armstrong, who did a lot of the Bonds, and amazing guy.
Raiders of the
Uh,
Lost Ark.
Amazing guy. And I was on this set and I was looking at this, I'm in awe of it. And look at this. And you're slightly off camera and it looks great, but then you creep behind a monitor and you look at what they're seeing. I thought, fuck, that looks amazing. And in those days, you could smoke on set. And instead of, I was a glorified extra when I first started. And I just sat on the set and said, went to the first. I said, "Do you mind if I just sit here and watch?" And I just watched on all these big movies and I learned the trade. Then I did a year at New York Film School because I kind of knew how to do it, but not why. And I learned the why from that. And then I fell in love with making movies. So it's weird though, because you go on a set like that and I've directed, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, I can't remember now, but and you've got to make sure that you don't take your director on set when you're being directed. So it's very, and sometimes you'll go on some of the smaller budget films where I played the lead villain, and I kind of think, well, why? And I go, shut up, it's not your place, stay in your lane. But I've worked with some great directors on indie level, a guy called Howard Ford. I don't know if you know Howard Ford, but I've done a film called Escape recently with him where I play an Albanian sex trafficker. I've now died I think I've had 86 deaths now. I've done 90 or 95 movies. I've died in 85 of them. And I had my penis cut off in the last one. It was called Escape. I deserved it, totally. I was an Albanian sex trafficker and I got my dick cut off with a pair of shears. That was my most elaborate death. So yeah, it's interesting. I am in awe of those big sets, but it's a different game. You get picked up in a beautiful car, you get paid loads of money, you're home by 6, you get fed all this amazing food, you get a wonderful trailer. When you're an indie film, you're eating chips and working 16 hours, and it's a totally different ball game. But yeah, I mean, I've got a really big one coming out. I'm not allowed to say what it is, but I can say one thing. Arnie is in it, and I'm the lead in this one. I'm a bumbling hitman. That's as far as I can go. But so I'm back on a big set in November, but I'm just about to direct the true life story of Michael Watson, who was put into a coma by Chris Eubank.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
The Force, the Michael Watson story. And that starts shooting on about the 15th or 20th of July if we get that last bit of money in. So I'm back to, so I've done a film called Give Them Wings about a guy in a wheelchair, Our Kid about a guy in a wheelchair, Michael Watson's in a wheelchair. People are going to start thinking I'm the one that put them in the fucking wheelchair. But so I'm about to do that. So, and then I'm going to have a bit of a time off directing because every time I do one, it nearly kills me. And I think I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to go into dog walking. But then I sit at home for about 3 weeks, and then someone comes up to me with an idea, and I go, "Oh, go on then, just one more." So I've just finished one actually called Angel of the North, which comes out. It's just doing the final score at the moment, and that's about a gypsy bare knuckle fighter, and that'll be coming out probably in the next 2 or 3 months. So look out for that one. Totally different again. Angel of the North.
Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.